Hey guys, Lex50 coming to you with a floating shelf project. I got some natural edge walnut from Lowe's, and one piece was enough to make, I think it was one piece, maybe it was two pieces, my three shelves. I'm putting them in my investment property down in the Smoky Mountains. So here I am. I'm a long believer in measure once, cut three times. It's a principle that served me well in life. Don't laugh at my tape measurer. I left all my measuring tapes down in Tennessee, and so I found that one rummaging through some old stuff. So there's my three boards cut to length. I was trying to fit them, but you'll see later, but I was trying to fit them between a window, above a window, and between a window and a door. So they were all three a certain measurement. I don't remember what they were, but anyway, this is me chopping them up. I got this saw and saw stand about 10 years ago, but it was on a deal clearance. I know it's an expensive saw, but you bought the saw, you got the stand for free. So that was about a $200 savings. So, but I use this thing all the time. It's really heavy, so I also like to visit the chiropractor after I use it. Still practicing measuring once, cutting thrice to make sure I got the right lengths here. I wouldn't recommend wearing a yellow shirt outside in the summertime. It attracts bees. So there we go, all three shelves cut. And for the illustrious process of sanding, I started with an 80 grit, went to a 120, and then a 320, I believe. And then I applied stain. I sanded down with a 320, and then I applied polyurethane. Then I sanded with a 400 at that. So the sand grits in this are 80, 120, 320, and 400 total. My big sander hooks up to the air compressor, and I didn't feel like dragging that all out, so I've got my little mouse sander. I don't know what they're called, but it's got the little tip on it, but it did the purpose for this. And I didn't really worry about making a mess. As you can tell, I'm standing right at the edge of the driveway, so I didn't run these through a planer. This isn't going to be a professional quality job. This is going in a rustic cabin, so it needs a rustic look. The cool thing about rustic is it's very simple to pull off, so you actually don't have to do much in the way of sanding. I'm just getting it somewhat even, getting rid of some of the saw marks on it, but nothing crazy. You'll see here later what's left as far as saw marks, and it actually adds a little bit of character. Plus these shelves, once I installed them, unless you're 7'8", you're not going to be able to look at the top of them really. So you'll see where they end up going. You're basically staring at the live edge face of them. So here's more fun sanding. Someone needs to wash their hands. But anyway, like I said, I'm just being careful not to hit the bark too much so that it didn't spread everywhere. This is some stain I had left over from the vanity. I'll post a vanity project pictures later. I don't think I did a video on that, but this is the stain. This was just me testing it out to see which one I liked, whichever looked best with what I was going with, because I wanted it to blend in with the logs on the cabin.
I don't like that at all.
So let's drill some holes. Follow me for more of the hardest ways possible to clamp things down. So these are 26 and a half. Half of 26 is 13. Is my center point. It's 26 and a half. I know, I don't do that kind of math. So 13, the little smidge is my center point. Make a little mark there. Let's just see what looks good here. I think 7 inches off the center both ways. Looks good to me. Let's put one there. This isn't rocket science. Theoretically, nobody will see these. Put one there. What is that? 6 inches in. A little more than 6 inches in. Well, maybe I should that would probably be easier. Just go 6 inches in and 6 inches in. Where that line is. So just pretend that one doesn't exist. Squiggly mark. Now, take my Amazon special tool here, set it right over that one. Six inches in. Make sure it's sitting there. You want it flush on there. There. Then take this guy, crank him down so he doesn't move. Should be the center point. Job sorted. You got a hole. Ouch. There's the saw marks I was talking about earlier. They actually add a little bit of character to the wood, so I'm just finishing up with the stain here and gonna go with some polyurethane. This is actually polyacrylic. It's my first time using it. I was a little nervous because it was white, but it cleared up. Actually looked really good. It was a little bit cheaper, I think, than the polyurethane, and it dries quicker, I think. There was a reason I bought it. I can't remember why, but I think I ended up doing 3 coats on this, and it came out really well. I'd recommend using something more expensive than a 99-cent brush, because as you can see, I'm having to pull hairs out repeatedly as I add the acrylic. If you're keeping the bark on a live edge like these shelves, you want to make sure to coat the bark real good with the poly. This is not an epoxy table where you need to remove all the bark and it'll rot in there. This is just a live edge shelf. So here we go with the 400 grit sanding I was talking about earlier. I didn't have any for my little sander, so these are auto pads that I use. But I just went over, knocked it all down. It goes back white again, but don't be worried about it. You just wipe it off. I think I blew mine off with air compressor out in the driveway. And then went ahead with 2 more coats, and it turned out fantastic. So it's a process, but it's not that hard. Let's go install. All right, so let's go over installation on these floating shelves. I bought these brackets on Amazon because they were cheap, but they are welded in there, so they're supposed to be strong. 150 pounds, they say. But anyway, I have a log home, so it's pretty simple where I put it. I can put it anywhere I want. So the first shelf I did was really difficult because I couldn't get the spacing right, and I couldn't get it level. And it took me about 2 hours to get one level, left to right and front to back. So that's this one. Oh, there's a good reflection. That's this one here. So I got it mounted right over the window. The reason I was doing these floating shelves there was because that piece of trim was missing. Not that anybody cares. And instead of replacing the trim, I was like, I'll just put a floating shelf up. So I did get it mounted. It took about 2 hours. And then I gave up for the night, and I said, well, I'm gonna put my TV up. So it's a mess in here. I mounted that TV. When I mounted that TV, it had a template, and Lex 50 had an idea. So I made a template. So just a piece of cardboard. I made it the length of the board. The width isn't exactly right, but I just measured off the bottom. I made where my posts are gonna go, and you can see those two holes where my screws were, right? So what I did is I took my level. It's hard to do with one hand, but I would put this up and I put my level on it like that. And obviously it would fit, but there's a fire extinguisher in the way. And I leveled it and I drilled my 4 holes. With that technique, it took 2 hours to do this one. With that technique, I got 2 more done in 30 minutes. So that's the finished product, the floating shelves from start to finish. I'll put some cool stuff up here. Probably not, but I think they turned out pretty good. I have maybe $100 invested in this altogether. If you count labor, close to $7,000, I think. But money-wise, $100, and it actually turned out pretty neat. I staggered them because I saw it online. Actually, I didn't see it, but that's what the cool people do. I don't know if my measurements are exactly right. I was actually talking to a guy who was here working on the cabin yesterday, and he gave me some real good advice that he'd gotten because he was a perfectionist, and I can kind of be a perfectionist at times with certain things. But he said he was once told to do 95%. Don't try and get 100 or it'll drive you insane. So do 95%. So it's a little bit off, the measurement's a little bit off, but for me, 95%, this looks good to me. So another project done. Thumbs up. Use the template. It'll save you. And pre-drill your holes. Lex 50 out.